This is very embarrassing to admit, but um, when I was a kid, all the way up until like young adulthood, I thought that I could see the future. And then I realized I just had common sense. Yeah, I mean, like I'll give you my best example. I had a friend from Chicago call me, and he told me he got his girlfriend pregnant by accident. And I was like, oh, dude, I knew you were gonna do that 3 years ago. And he was like, how? How is that possible? I've only known her for a year. And I was like, oh, bro, I knew you were gonna do that when I saw you walking around with no case on your phone. Like, I knew you weren't thinking ahead, you weren't taking precautions, you were living reckless, you know? You don't have a case on your phone, of course you're not wrapping it up. Come on, just walking around loose phone all day?
I've been getting tested a lot. Like a lot. I've had a lot of tests just so I can do things and go places and stuff. And, you know, always come out negative. I've been very blessed. I'm very grateful for that. But I have been tested so much that I'm not gonna lie, my nose is starting to feel a little loose, all right? Baby boy is not tight anymore, okay? If you ask my nose, just from my nose's perspective, been on the streets doing what it had to do, all right? Doing what it had to do to get by, okay? It's a hard knock life for this nose. It's getting to the point where my nose is so open, I don't just smell things, I feel like I smell when they happened. Like, I no lie, I'm starting to feel like I can smell the future. Just like the worst superhero, just walking in like, oh, we need to get out of here. This is terrible. You know? I had one test, this is insane. I had one test where they stuck it so far up my nose, I fainted, right? So I just passed out. And I don't know what it was, like it was almost like she stuck it up so far that she hit the off switch on my brain. Cause then I wake up, test is still hanging out of my nose, right? I wake up like maybe 10 seconds later and she's gone. And then she walks back in and I'm like, you left me? And she was like, I had to go get a doctor cause I thought I killed you. This has never happened before. That's why I've given up on being an alpha, you know? Because I faint too much for a black guy. I really do. I faint a lot, and no one faints well. You know what I mean? Like, no guy's ever been standing there crossed-armed and then, like, tipped over. Like, I melt, you know what I mean? And I hit my head hard. Like, when I faint, I hit my head so hard that people look at me different when I wake up. You know, because I even had an instance where I saw my friend who was running and he tripped and he fell and he messed up his arm really bad. Like, it wasn't just bloody, it was like an anatomy lesson. Like, I could see through his arm. So I appropriately fainted where I stood, all right? But instead of just like tipping over, I guess my legs were too far apart, so then my knees buckled, but then they opened again under the weight of my hips. So I just sort of twerked myself down until I rested on the ground. So yeah, I faint.
How do you celebrate Black History Month, sir? You come to see comedy shows? Good call. You know, I've heard that a lot of white people celebrate Black History Month by giving the nearest black guy $20. If that ain't the slickest shit I've ever seen in my life. Y'all can't see him. He went. I'll do with just a dab right there. Ah, gotcha.
My name is Josh Johnson, and I'm originally from Louisiana. Growing up in Louisiana was like being in a bathtub and you can't get out, and the water is dirty, and it's racist.
Clap your hands, everybody, for Josh Johnson!
I don't know if you can tell by looking at me, but I was fired from being in a gang. They kicked me out because I was too positive. They were like, why you always smiling, dog? I'm like, I mean, none of us are dead or in jail, and we're a gang. They also kicked me out because I apologized too much. Our drive-bys sounded like... Sorry! Like, that's... After a while, I saw their point, you know? And even when it came down to it, and they were kicking me out, and I was like, I just want to hang out with my friends, and you guys are my friends, and now I don't know what I'm gonna do. Why do I have to leave? And they were like, bro, you giggle. You just like a bad influence, dog. You know what I mean? Like, you over here bringing in puppies and lemonade and like... So I'm out. I didn't know that I looked busted today until a homeless man didn't bother asking me for change. And he asked everyone, all right? He was like, hey, brother, hey, brother, hey, brother, hey, brother. Hey, brother, hey, brother, hey, brother. Oh, it hurt my soul. I took an Uber to get here, and I've come to a decision. We should not be able to see the car in the app on the way to pick us up. It's a bad idea. You are only watching mistakes. You are just watching like, oh yeah, 6 rights and you'll be here. That's perfect. That is wonderful. That's just what I wanted, you know? No, take another right. That makes sense. No, you should pass me. You're right, you know? Sometimes the car will disappear and then reappear in a place that is still not here. You know what I mean? And you're like, wow, teleportation. I had no idea we had reached this level of technology. That's amazing. Sometimes the car will just start spinning. And it'll spin further away from you, and you're like, is he drunk? Should I get in the car, you know? It's terrible, and it's disrespectful to the driver, you know? Because it's only their job to drive you, not to look cool on the way to pick you up. It's not their job to drift down the street and land in front of you perfectly. Pop the car door open like Ryan Gosling. It's just their job to drive you. They're not at work yet, and you're watching them. Imagine if you had that. Imagine if your boss had you on a screen before you got to work. It's like, okay, this man know he late. He going to Starbucks. All right. Okay, we're gonna have to have a discussion.
I'm into comic books a lot. It started out when I was young. I couldn't afford the good comics, so I would get these sort of like discontinued publications that were like a quarter. Because of that, I never knew what other kids were talking about. Then I read Spider-Man. I was like, this is way better. Oh my gosh, I wish I had grown up with even a little bit of money, and then I would have just bought the $1.25 comic and known what my friends were talking about.
I don't know if you saw this story. There's a group of Girl Scouts that were outside of a dispensary in Chicago selling Girl Scout cookies. And what hustlers, you know? Like, we've come full circle as a society, because it used to be that kids would walk out of a store and an adult was trying to sell them weed. Now adults are walking out of dispensaries and there's kids like, hey. Hey. I got that good shit. You hungry? Everybody get hungry. You don't want none of this? I got that Thin Man. I got that samosa. I got that praline. I got that mango cream. I got that shortbread. I used to think a lot about who I wanted to be when I grew up, like what I wanted to be, everything, you know? And I think I finally decided, when I grow up, I want to be the dude that I am on the first date. That would be amazing if I could be that dude for real. That is... he is somebody to aspire to. You know what I mean? That dude Reed. He pulled chairs out for people. I don't even pull out the chair for myself. I actually stick my leg under the table and drag the chair out like an animal and then sit down in it. And he's got money. You know what I mean? Like, my second date's just... We going through samples at Whole Foods while we learn about each other.
The advice that I wish I got when I first started was to quit. I stuck with comedy because even though a bomb is this scary thing that no comic wants to experience, I don't do that well in individual conversations. And so a comedy show is just bombing with everyone at one time, you know?
I haven't always lived here. I actually moved to New York from Chicago. Me too. And I quickly realized how proud New Yorkers are of their time. What I mean by that is how like long they've lived here. You know what I mean? Like people be like, I'm a real New Yorker, dog. I've been here 8 years. And then somebody in the back that nobody was talking to goes, nah, man, it doesn't start till 10. Like, what are you talking about? Your New York time shouldn't be measured by calendar year. It should be measured by your experiences, you know? Like, if we all moved to New York tonight, and we got off the plane and we got on the train, and then we got off the train as the train doors open, a homeless man coughs in your mouth, you've been here 2 years. That's 2 full years right there. I was walking down Times Square, which was my mistake, you know what I mean? And I was walking down the street, I saw this young woman, clearly not from New York, because she was smiling very wide. She was genuinely happy. And you also could tell that she wasn't from here because she was looking up at like the screens and the buildings and everything, and she was just blown away because she had seen this in movies and it's here now in front of her. This is insane, you know? And so then she opened her mouth to say, wow. Everyone who laughed is from New York. She opened her mouth to say wow because she was full of joy and hope and life. And as soon as she opened her mouth to say wow, a bag flew in her mouth. And it's like, yeah, that's what happens here, all right? Were you happy? New York noticed, and it's in a dirty Walgreens bag to fly halfway in your head. Close your mouth and tuck your chin like an adult. To take the train everywhere, and it's exhausting. I know that everyone doesn't have this problem, but I'm like, I don't know, I'm just pressed up against people the entire ride, just like mushed in between people. I'm surprised no one is in me. I'm pressed up against so many people so hard. And I'm not a big man, so if I get pressed up against 2 big men, it's not uncommon for my feet to leave the ground. So now I'm just dangling in between 2 grown men as the train goes. And then they go to get off, and I'm like, sir, please don't do this. I got 3 more stops, please. Like, it's a terrible feeling. I was on the train with one of those ladies that had those baby backpacks. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, where the baby is the backpack? Like, she don't want to look at her kid, like the baby hanging in the other direction, you know, in some sort of like suspended timeout. Baby could be gone for all she knows. It could be a sack of potatoes. Trade it for a baby and she'd still just keep walking, you know what I mean? So it was just me and the baby pressed up against each other, nose to nose like this, just mushing heads. And this is a baby, that's a soft head. I should not be mushing my grown skull against this baby, you know? But I'm mushing up against the baby, and I look at the baby, and the baby looks at me, and he's like, I don't know. I don't know what you want me to do. I'm a baby. My feet don't touch the ground either. And then the train sped up, and as it sped up, it like shook a little bit, and the baby, I don't know what age of baby this baby was, but he definitely wasn't like hold his own head up age. Like he was out here. So then the train sped up and the baby went weightless, and for a split second his little foot went in my mouth, right? And like I didn't close my mouth, I didn't suck on his foot, but still it was a baby foot in the dirty New York air, you know what I mean? And so I'm choking, and as I'm choking, because there's no shoe, but I mean I'm choking, and I look at the baby and the baby looks at me, he's like, I don't know what you mean.